Actually, when you spoke in the beginning about the nature of this clear mind, it really felt like there needs to be this acknowledgement of not knowing, because knowing feels to me like one of the first contractions of this non-existent self. Like that's part of the way it is created or that's how it consolidates, by the feeling of knowing. Like when we feel that we know something. And you know, I work with people, I'm a therapist, and on the psychological level, I think it's very important for people to feel that they know, because knowing has something to do with control, with some kind of ability to function, to have power. So the state that you're indicating, it has to have, I guess, a very healthy state of a psychological self, let's call it that way, for it to really be able to surrender itself in that way. So I guess my question is, how can one, that now that people are listening to you talking about it, and maybe it touches them very much, it inspires us to really want to let go in that way, and to open up to this mystery, and to the direct realization that we don't know. But for some people it's scary. For some people they feel that maybe they will then lose their mind, not in a healthy way, and they will lose their capacity to orient themselves. So how can people overcome that fear?
First of all, I would just correct something that
Yes.
in what you just said, because you said people want to open to the mystery that surrounds them, or that is everywhere, and so on. And we need to remember, we are a part of this mystery. It's not that we are immediately. Our thought always creates images and objects.
Yes.
You see, you speak about God, and this is our problem. We don't know what it means to live in God. You see, we only want to know God. That's our problem. So everything becomes an object, externalized. We talk even about the universe. I'm always puzzled about this. What is the universe? It's like, who says the universe? You see, we never question these simple semantics. It's like, what do you mean by the universe? Are you not a part of the universe? Are you outside of the universe, standing somewhere, looking at the universe? You say? We say life. But what is life? Are we not life, you see? Where are we?
Sometimes it feels like we're not, because we have this
awareness.
This awareness, yes.
Yes, this awareness, this awareness is not separate from life. It's only when it's isolated in its self-identification that it becomes this bystander. I stand aloof, alienated, just like the existentialist, you know, Albert Camus and all that, the myth of Sisyphus, that looking at the hostile, silent universe that doesn't care about me, and I'm spat out of the ocean of the universe. This is this self-pity approach, and I really love Albert Camus generally, but this self-pity is because it's only because we have created isolation. There is no such thing. We are the universe right now, not in a mystical sense. It's just semantically, logically, it's not possible to be something else. There is only the universe. So I'm saying people first of all need to surrender to the fact that they are a mystery. You are a mystery. What are you? What is this mind? The mind is a mystery to itself. The mind doesn't is a stranger. This is how I would say. You see, we don't know. We are made of mystery, and that's now this can either scare us, terrify us, even, or make us realize that our life, that life existence, people are so enchanted by fantasy books, by fantasy movies. People fantasize about unicorns, about being Harry Potter, realizing that there is another world. And this is because they're so bored with what is considered to be the regular, boring, or dull world. Are cats boring? Why have cats become boring while unicorns are exciting? If now a unicorn would enter this room, everyone would be so amazed. My God, this is a unicorn. Something so extraordinary. Suddenly life is colorful. And then, of course, if the unicorn stayed here for a month, then nobody would even care about the unicorn. It's like, oh, again, this unicorn. You see? Now let's wait for another fantastic beast. What about aliens? You see? We are so bored and so easily bored. We are bored by our relationships because we possess them. And we are bored by the universe because we come to possess this life, you see? And we ourselves are old. The conditioned mind is old, you see?
Yes.
It is so old because it is aging. It is aging from one experience to another. Day after day, it becomes so worn out. It takes for granted everything. You see?
So when you wake up in the morning, every day is like a complete mystery? Like it never happened? Like it's always fresh, it's always new? Is that that's the quality of the mind you're talking about?
No, it's not that. Because this is also some kind of an image, you see. It's the mind itself is always awake, you see. It is awake. It is awake. It is awake because, the universe has not exhausted itself, right? Only personalities exhaust themselves. Only people say, I'm bored. You see? Is the universe bored?
I don't think so.
Oh, it's never bored. So then morning comes, and no matter how much turbulence and war and strife and hatred and this land has known, still the morning dew is fresh, and we feel the aliveness, the freshness of the universe. You see, it's always new. It's always here. It's awake. So, in this sense, yes.
Yeah.
It's beyond magic and boredom. It is simply alive. And it can never get enough of this because it is a part of the movement or the flowering of the unfolding or the constant expansion of the universe from the source of life.
So that kind of mind can never have any identity whatsoever.
What is identity?
Because sometimes even enlightened beings, they can still identify themselves as their culture, for instance, as their religion, as their gender. And you're talking about something that has no identification whatsoever, that it's always completely naked.
Otherwise, what's the point? I don't understand. There is a total difference between the nature of the mind and the observed phenomena like the body and the circumstances of life. You see, I always like to play with this thought experiment. If, let's say, I would have been placed in Africa, okay, in a certain tribe, and then I would have found myself in Africa when I was a child, and then I would have been trained to accept the dogmas, the doctrines, the superstitions, the memories of the tribe. Then I would have become completely identified with this tribe and with being African, and perhaps would have considered the white people strange or foreigners. I don't know what, you see. I would have believed in other gods or deities. I would have experienced. My brain would have been shaped completely differently. I would have identified with different family members. You see, this is all completely random. We don't question that the arbitrariness or the randomness of where we are placed. It's like in the very same way you could have been placed somewhere else, and you would have immediately identified some other deity, some other culture heroes and all that. You see? So we are so gullible. we simply immediately embrace whatever we are told. We become our culture, we become our religion. If we are Christian, we immediately feel sentiments toward Jesus, you see. If we are Muslims, we immediately develop sentiments to Muhammad. And if we are Jewish, and so on and so on. Now, there is a certain universality. This universality is the true nature of the mind. The mind that becomes identified with what it perceives, this is the source of disaster. This is the end of freedom. You see, no matter how much individual freedom we believe we have gained, we are not really free. Freedom means that you never become your beliefs, your opinions, your identities, your random experiences, your random relationships. Behind the so-called personal mind, which is just the result of identification, there is the mind. There is awareness. This awareness is universal. It is free. I tend to say, because sometimes people say, okay, so perhaps he is not identified with his religion, or with his nation, or with a specific body, but surely the ideas that he writes about, he cherishes them very much because, because this is closer to him or something like that. But this is also untrue, completely untrue. It's like, no matter how much I write, no matter how much I've written or how many techniques I've developed or how many ideas I've conveyed, at the end of the day, there's just this naked awareness, you see. Nothing becomes attached to it. Life doesn't accumulate. You see?
Yeah, it's very much felt right now in this space.
So then, if we return to a neglected question, you ask about people who are afraid of all this, right? Because they think this is really, really dangerous to to open the mind to the unknown and to the unknowable and to this ocean of not knowing, because we need to cling, to hold on to what we have. But then when we cling so strongly and so desperately, and we first of all, we should realize that this is out of fear. You see? Thought is afraid of the rest of existence. It wants to separate itself, to isolate itself, to create its own island of safety, of security. That's why it gathers around it its own deities and beliefs and systems of thought and identities and relationships. It makes sure that everything is familiar all the time. But then this is also our cage, our prison. Then we raise our hand desperately and we scream, I'm so miserable. Why am I so miserable? Right? I'm so miserable. I'm so sad. And we don't realize that we are a spider that got caught in its own web, you see? We weaved and we weaved the net of imagination. Now we can't get out. We have entrapped ourselves. We have entrapped ourselves with this sense of limitation, this sense of seclusion or isolation from life. We are drawing only on our own resources, very limited. And we are so miserable because our identifications make us depend on the world so intensely that we are always eaten up by expectations, desires, envy, jealousy, comparison, wanting to become, needing to become. And all that because we don't know the profound bliss of being a no one and of having no possession to claim, and of feeling the wonderful feeling, the blissful feeling that we are truly inseparable, you see, from this entire tremendous thing. We are not foreigners, we are not strangers, we are not bystanders, we don't look from the outside. We don't look through the window, watching life. We are inside.
Yeah, which I think it's a very profound insight here. I think that everyone can feel that if we just surrender to the fact we are the universe, like you said, that we are a part of this mystery right now, and that there is no need to separate, there's no need to divide or create any kind of duality in that sense, then it's in a way quite accessible. Like you can immediately feel that, or at least start to feel it, which is so wonderful.
I think that the mind, the heart, and the body, they all long for it. You see, they all don't understand what's going on. The body, above all, that doesn't understand. The body that recognizes dogs and clouds and trees as friends. You see, it's the body is naturally inseparable. You see, it doesn't have an ego, it doesn't have an I consciousness, but then it is isolated by this governing identity. Then it feels so strange because it is cut off from its main nourishment, which is what in Hinduism is called cosmic prana. You see, it's not. Can there be a more blatant, more explicit reminder of this than our own breathing? You see, All day long, you breathe out, you breathe in, you breathe out, you breathe in. Your very process of breathing is like being a fetus connected to its mother, to its cosmic mother, you see, through the umbilical cord. So we breathe in, we breathe out. That's connection. That's inseparability. And that's also non-self-existence, because it means that you don't breathe by yourself. You depend, because you are a part of interdependent existence. So the body longs for it. Our heart feels so isolated and so lonely, but because because the mind is so confused, it is transferred to loneliness, social loneliness, romantic loneliness, you see. And then the romantic relationships, they become so important. Sexual relationships become so important because they represent for us these moments of not being isolated, of being intermixed with another being. We long this unity, but we just don't know what it is that we long for. We don't understand that it's existential. So we make it personal, as always. And then the personal cannot be satisfying, because you are fulfilled through sex, you are fulfilled through romantic relationship, or you are fulfilled through union with your child, with your baby. Then the baby grows, and the baby becomes independent. And the baby, the once baby, tells you, I don't care about you anymore, I'm now going away. And then you are shocked. You are insulted, you are deserted. You are spat out of this sense of union once again. And this happens to us in sex. We experience unity, then we say, okay, from now on we are one. But then we are also not. We separate, and there is conflict. Suddenly, what was a source of tremendous bliss is a source of tremendous agony. And all this because we don't know where our brokenness lies, you see? Why we feel broken. Why we feel so existentially wounded. It's not because our traumas, our memories, because our parents didn't like us or any kind of story like this. It's not even because we have been separated from the universe. It's because we have separated ourselves from the universe.
So that self-isolation is the reason for our suffering?
Only. What else can be the deepest source of our suffering? Self-isolation makes us an island. And on this island we begin to try to create our own separate type of happiness. Then all the strange images come into our mind, you see? What could make us one day happy? And then we begin to chase after these images. Hopelessly, disappointingly, we always reach them, and they seem to move further away, you see? And we try to hold on to this image of happiness, and it immediately jumps forward to another day. And so this is the source of suffering, because we experience profound discontentment. When you experience this inseparability, you are saturated in bliss. Saturated, it is astounding bliss. It's indescribable. It's not like happiness, and it's not like, I don't know, jumping out of it's so quiet. and still overwhelming. You are vibrating with the universe, you see. You are vibrating with the trees, with the clouds. You feel this cosmic pulse beating, and then you know the most important thing that you ever crave, which is love, because this complete unity, all in one, you see, this explosive yet silent state that holds all the universes together, all the beings together, all forms, that is this tremendous oneness, you see. It's also love. So why would what would we fear not knowing, if in this very not knowing we finally find love, you see?
When you put it that way, I don't see any reason to have any fear whatsoever. Because this talk feels like a beautiful reminder, it's not something that we learn, it's something that we can really remember. And it's like an awakener, it's like a reminder. It's just an invitation to something which is very known in some way, or very intimate to us.
Intimate is a good word, because I'm not sure we know what intimacy is, you see. Again, we long for intimacy. Intimacy with people is fleeting by its very nature. You experience intimacy, but then there is also separateness, not even because someone is hostile or indifferent, but it's the nature of life that forms come together and move away from one another, and come together and move away. So there is no, you cannot create unity in the realm of the realm of apparent phenomena. So therefore we require this sense of intimacy. You see? Intimacy is interlinked with silence, with the stillness of the mind, with mystery. Intimacy is feeling close, right? Feeling so close that the dividing barrier seems to melt away, or to be at least become very transparent. It's as if you can reach with your hand and touch the heart of the thing, and that thing can reach with its hand, so to speak, and reach your heart, the core of your being. It's when you really are in communion. And I'm not sure we have this, you see. And some people blame for this the age of smartphones and social media, and it doesn't matter, because it's here, it's available. It's not we cannot blame something for distracting us. This doesn't it doesn't make sense. Let us be reminded that this magical lifetime is extremely short. We sometimes think that we are going to live forever because of the habit of accumulation. We can't imagine our own ending, you see. We only know our own accumulation, how we become more and more. So when we understand that there is very little time for this magic to take place, it's not that we need to feel stressed, but we need to wake up and to begin to reach out, or to reach with our hand and to start feeling into the universe that is in us and that is outside us.
I would like to share with you my direct experience now, because it's very unique. It feels like it feels like we are painting a picture, and the moment the paint touches the canvas, it immediately disappears. And it's a very strange experience, because there is a very innate feeling that it's very meaningful, this endeavor to paint. And with every strike of brush, it's something so beautiful is happened, and yet it disappears. My brain cannot grasp it. It doesn't even perceive it in a way. It's a very strange experience. Can you comment on that or explain it?
Yes, that's the connection between creativity and nothing, creativity and emptiness. You see, because this is also the relationship between the so-called artist and the art of that we call creation. You see, because it's like creation is like bars of creativity that keep appearing and disappearing. Perhaps we're not aware of the disappearing part because of our the way the mind glues all the moments. You see, so we don't notice the fluctuation that the universe always fluctuates between being and non-being. You see, it's always somewhere in the middle. So when you are beginning to notice this middle, you realize that you know, we sometimes speak of the Big Bang. So we can, just for the sake of the metaphor, we can imagine what was there before the Big Bang. You see, so then let's say that it's unimaginable, it's unknowable, it's formless, right? And then there was a tremendous burst of creativity that is still going on. It's never ending. It's also never. It's always expanding. So when you contact this kind of rhythm, this is exactly the relationship with life. You see, it's a sort of a dance, an interplay. It's a movement of nothing and creativity. Nothing, then something comes out of nothing, then something returns with rose, then again a flower blossoms, then the flower shrinks and dies. People don't have these experiences because they don't have much death in their life. You see, we only wait for death somewhere down the road, at the end of the road, but we don't understand that death is intertwined with birth. You see, it's a constant movement. Death is always here, and death is not something bad. Death is actually a part of this natural process of withdrawal of the something into the nothing, and then there is birth. You see, creativity, and then there is death. If there is no death, there is no creativity. So that's why you are getting this sense, because we are sitting together on this border between being and non-being.
And this talk has taken us into, for me at least, it has taken us to a very uncharted territory, which is like an inner eruption, or like I really feel this fountain-like state, which has its own direction, which has its own intelligence, but I would still want to try and control the conversation and ask you, right now you're in the very midst of your PhD research, and you are researching Krishnamurti, the 20th century Indian philosopher and teacher, and We've discussed at length the nature of the mind and so on, and I know that you have a certain connection with this being. Could you talk a little bit about it?
Right now, it's almost a daily encounter with Jiddu Krishnamurti, because research compels you to involve yourself completely with the subject of the research. Of course, before this academic research, Krishnamurti had been for me still a tremendous source of inspiration. And what do we want to say?
I'm sure there was a reason.
So much.
I'm sure there was some reason that you chose him for something for such a long merging period.
Yeah.
Something that you really go into so deeply, and knowing a little bit about it, I know that it also has to do with the quality of his mind, which
Yes.
was very unique. Maybe. Is there any connection between his mind and the way you have described this clear mind before?
Of course, clear light mind is far before Krishnamurti. This is a Vajrayana term, and even before that we find it in Mahayana and so on, in Buddhism, and generally the concept is not so extraordinarily unusual. This has been a revelation of anyone taking the trouble, as we said at the beginning of the talk, taking the trouble to look into his or her own mind, to realize its nature, to look through the cluster of thoughts and memories and see that there is no core. It has no core. It has no essence. It has no solidity. So Krishnamurti was truly unusual because he was a naked mind. He was the embodiment of the naked mind, since this was a mind that was completely untethered to any kind of identification. No tradition, no dogmas, no doctrines. So if certain teachers they are still they thrive within the framework of their tradition, or within the framework of their own belief system, or a certain path or a certain concept that they promote, here we speak about a mind that was so alone and so purely embodying this reality. You see, he was completely faithful to this nature of the mind, and this, I think, is quite astonishing, because to see an embodiment of this, that you can't grasp it. You can't. It always slips through your fingers. You can't hold it. It's like the wind. It's like space. So it doesn't mean that I don't know, Buddhists or Hindus or even Christian mystics and so on, that they haven't touched this reality. Just the same, but definitely with Krishnamurti it was. You didn't have any reference point. It was a direct embodiment of no self.
And yet this no self lives as a person, and as far as I know, to live as a person we need some kind of ideals, some kind of reference points to which we adhere and through which we live our life. I mean, there needs to be some contraction, I think. Maybe I'm mistaken. So, and that was really actually maybe my last important question, and it doesn't have to be about Krishnamurti. It's just a general question about this enlightened or this state of mind. How does it live? as a human being in a human life which requires some set of beliefs or some set of perception or something to which we can tell right from wrong and behave in a certain way in the world. How does that happen without being identified at all at the same time?
Well, first of all, the simplest answer to this is have you ever seen a tree having trouble to grow beautifully without an eye?
No.
Have you ever seen a cloud that having trouble to consolidate, then disappear without an eye, or lightning in the sky, or volcano? They all do very well expressing their nature. You see, when you think of lightning, you know lightning is the very name is what it does. You see, so it's like there is no difference between it doesn't have a solid existence. What it is what it does.
Yes.
So it is its own activity. It is its activity, and this is also the truth about human beings. Human beings have made it very complicated because of this self-possession and the idea of self-autonomy. You see, that you have your own life and so on and so on. Unlike trees, just because you can think, but thoughts are also an activity of nature. This is what we don't understand. You see? The ideas that appear in this mind, they are also the activity of nature. There are trees, there are flowers, there are thoughts. And there is creativity, or there is this dialogue. So then you can ask, so how can this dialogue take place without an eye? And I'm telling you, it's already taking place without an eye. Everything is taking place already without an eye. We just don't realize this. We refuse to accept this. The whole world right now, disastrous or not, wonderful or not, is taking place without solid essence, without the core. That's the reality. There may be a belief in such a center, and this belief, of course, gives rise to its own realities, you see, because if you believe there is an I, you will start pursuing self-interest business, and then you will start driving yourself crazy with your ambitions and greed and passions and romance and frustration and sorrows. When you don't interfere, I believe this is actually very natural. It's like your thoughts, ideas, expressions, they are expressions or extensions. They have nothing to do with what you are in this sense. Do you understand? They are not a self. They are a form of flowering. Now they come out in an uninterrupted way, unfiltered, without possession. They are light. They don't cling. They are not steeped in hope or fear. Fear of losing or hope for gaining. It's just flowering. Activity. The whole question of controlling this process is a question of the thought that cannot imagine. Just thought cannot imagine it's at the end of its existence, its ending, you see. And in the very same way, it cannot imagine life without a self. Well, this is already the case, but when you become aware of it, when awareness becomes aware of it, the mind becomes aware of it, there is free action in the world without dependency on consequences, without fear, without clinging. That is the act of creativity, and it is naturally free and blissful.
Well, you have certainly taken me on a very deep journey today. I feel that there is no head anymore. There is no borders anymore. It feels like it can be at every point in the universe and not in any point in the universe. And that feels very natural, actually. So,
And this happens in this life, in these forms, in this form, it can happen in the midst of life.
yes.
It's just a question of awareness.
So I want to thank you very much for this beautiful sharing from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the beautiful questioning.